Good evening. I'd like to call the July 13th, 2022 Town Board meeting to order. Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christo?
Present.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Present.
Mr. Dotson?
Present.
Mr. Mastriani?
Present.
Supervisor Collins?
Present.
5 present.
Thank you, Ms. Marco. A quorum is present. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Lamora, will you lead us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a short statement, and if you can't hear me, just raise your hand and I'll try to speak louder. The town of Rotterdam is going to be reminding residents that water sprinkling regulations are in effect in all water districts of the town. The code was amended on July 24th, 2020 as an effort to conserve water during peak water demands and maintain adequate fire protection. In an effort to ensure compliance with these regulations, the town will be using blue hang tags to remind residents of town code and that a violation has been observed. A press release will be going out to local news media for further information, and we will have it on the town website and the town Facebook page. Okay, that's just a heads up so that you know. Okay? All right. Just a reminder before we open privilege of the floor, you have 4 minutes. When it gets close to the 4 minutes, I'll kind of give you a wave, and you can kind of wrap things up. All right? Ms. Marco, is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Mike Cohn?
Wow. First. Good evening.
I'd like to thank Supervisor Collins and Larry Lamora.
Can I interrupt one thing? Please, when you step up to the mic, state your name and your address.
Mike Cohen, I live in West Hill, 219 Juniper Drive. I'm there for going on 60 years. It's our second road system that I've helped put in there. But I want to commend you and your staff, the council, and Larry Lamora and his staff for the fine work that you've done thus far on our road system. It's phenomenal. Unfortunately, there was a fly in the ointment, though. 18 hours after they applied the first regrind coat, and Larry had put markers, no parking, about every 150 feet in 2 directions, all around West Hill, warning people not to park on the roadside. Well, about 18 hours after that first coat went down, a fellow company by the name of Clark Mayer Paving came in with a 150-foot-long caravan of trucks, dump trucks, backhoes, rollers, skid steers, you name it. And they just tore up the lower part of Cricket Lane and joining to Oak Ridge Drive. And they spent a good amount of time rolling out the surface after they scarred it all up. And anybody that's made a pizza or an apple pie knows the more you roll, the thinner it gets. And that's what we fear happened. There's some weak spots in our pavement from before due to frost and intersections and such. Larry's very aware of that. He's done a fantastic job with drainage around the neighborhood. But I'd like to suggest that the town look into an easement policy for homeowners, that they have to get a permit when they want to join their road, their driveway to the road. From the center of the road is a 30-foot distance on both sides that the town owns, or it's called the utility right-of-way. And this would allow the town to supervise all kinds of culverts and catch basins and plantings. And most people don't know that they don't own that property. I mean, you may mow the grass and plant the grass and bushes, but it's the easement for the right-of-way. And this could be a control factor and a revenue source for the town to get a permit to join a driveway to the road. And this would have happened. Now, Clark Myers came in and they tore up a concrete driveway and hauled it all out on a freshly paved road. And then they laid down rubble and rolled it out. And now the worst part is they're going to come back and pave it now. And I don't want to have their pavement interfere with our second coat, which is going to happen probably next week or thereabouts, to the point where we've sent emails around, newsletters, warning everybody to stay off the roads and to refrain from hiring contractors with heavy trucks. And it has been of no avail. And another thing, now that we've got the new roads are coming down the hill 60 miles an hour, we need a speed wagon to educate them. That's all I have to say. I'm a live and let live kind of guy, but I think that Clark Meyer's situation was uncalled for. He was a professional. He should have known better that this was a brand new road and not to put all that weight on it. That's all I have to say.
So Mr. Cohen, this company, just to make sure I understand what you're saying, this company came in, ignored Larry's no parking signs.
Yes.
And just drove right up
Yeah.
and to do a private driveway.
Yes, yes. Within 18 hours after the first coat went down.
Do we have any legal?
I have pictures of it and a witness. The whole neighborhood is upset about this because we waited so long for our roads, and you guys made such an effort to get it to us. And this guy rolled in with all of his equipment and had no regard for the longevity of our roads. Now we were thinking maybe on the second coat they could come back with a little heavier coat on that area, that particular area. Larry knows where it is. And I think it deserves more than a traffic ticket. You know, it was in violation of what Larry had set up. It really, if I had the wherewithal, I'd sue the son of a gun for doing what he did, you know?
We'll definitely confer with legal counsel and see if we have any point of recourse, and, somehow when it's time, the proper people can collaborate with Larry and somehow notify this company, think twice before you just show up.
Yes, yes. And what would, my suggestion for an easement, the homeowners, it's really, the onus is on the homeowner, not the contractor. They should have never let this guy come in. But with a permit, Larry could say, hey, no, we're gonna put a new road through here, you can't come now.
Right.
So, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Denise Legacy?
Hi, this is Denise Legacy. I'm at 1152 Eugene Drive. My son is giving you guys some literature to support what I'm here to talk about. I am here with my chicken crusade, as I call them. All my friends and family and neighbors. And I've been here for, I don't want to say my age, but since I was born. But I bought my house 25 years ago, and we've had chickens for 9 years. And I have presented you with just some petitions. I did an online petition and currently have 719 signatures. We did paper petitions and I have 70 signatures. We received signatures on the one page from all of our surrounding neighbors saying that they're on board with the chickens. And so the reason we're here is because we received a violation for having our chickens. I don't know why. The only reason we were given is because they're not allowed. I wasn't asking for names, but I just wanted to know what the complaint was. I don't believe after 9 years they've become any smellier or noisier. We only have hens. All of our friends and family and neighbors and their friends and family come over to visit with the chickens. I give out free eggs, so I'm not really sure what the complaint is, but I don't really like public speaking, so I handed you guys a lot of information about the benefits, the myths, the facts about backyard chickens. I don't feel like they're any noisier than a lawnmower or a dog, and that is
music going through your neighborhood.
music, domestic violence, kids happily playing, construction, whatever. I don't think that allowing backyard chickens is going to cause this influx of chickens running around like Key West or anything like that. But the eggs are more they eat bugs and ticks in the backyard. They they are expensive, but a lot of people aren't gonna take care, they're not gonna go out and get chickens for that reason. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to say. The symbol of Rotterdam is the windmill, and that kind of represents the Dutch heritage, and that's relating to how they were preserving like farmland and everything. And I think chickens in the backyard represent windmills in our small town of Rotterdam more than having a bank or a pharmacy or an urgent care at every corner. And the reason we got our backyard chickens is because my son loved farms. He wanted to live on a farm. I didn't want a dog, but we ended up getting a dog. And I finally gave in after his guinea pig died. And we went to Tractor Supply and got chickens. And now everybody enjoys the chickens. Everybody benefits from our chickens. And they've just been a great educational experience. The eggs are great. They have been an emotional support for us and our family, and we just want Rotterdam to join other local communities like Niskayuna and Guilderland, who recently passed the zoning law to have chickens. If Rotterdam isn't on board, then we can all move 3 miles away to Niskayuna or Guilderland and have chickens. So, I think as long as people get a permit and they abide by some of the rules that, are outlined in the paperwork I sent, that Guilderland and Rotterdam outlined, I don't see why backyard chickens have to be such an issue. I would be curious to see who complained and what the complaint was. I think it's just a lot of baloney, to be honest. I think it's just somebody who is just complaining because they know we have them. But if you look around Rotterdam pretty closely, you can see that we are not the only people that have them. So that's really all I have to say. I am willing to answer any questions that you guys want to present to me down the road, and look forward to hearing from you.
When I came into the office in January, I went down to the DPW, Department of Public Works, and on their whiteboard I see chickens, chickens, chickens. Maybe we were having a barbecue. And come to find out, it was that's a hot topic in Rotterdam about having chickens in a non-agricultural setting. We have taken the liberty, we've had our zoning officer start to draft code for Rotterdam. Obviously, that would have to have a public hearing, if I'm correct, and people could speak for it or against it. So I don't think it's anything, and I hate to speak for the whole board, but I don't think any of us have taken it lightly or just ignored it. Like I say, we have had our zoning officer look at other codes in different areas to see whether or not we can come up with a code for Rotterdam. So, thank you for all the work of getting the petition and for coming out, and we'll see where it goes. But please don't think you haven't been heard. You have been heard by all of us, okay?
I'd also
Thank you.
repeat what our supervisor said. Just a couple of things. I just came back from overseas, and we stayed in the village that my grandparents and parents were born in, and I didn't buy a single egg while I was there. Every day, one cousin was bringing me chickens from their backyard, and they are more nutritious, and they are very nice. I have one question that's not for or against the topic, but how it would be addressed. And my colleague here, who has a USDA inspector, is going to ask the question tomorrow. As you're aware, the price of eggs has tripled, which in this economy is almost another justification why people want to have their own eggs in their backyard. That's great. Well, one of the reasons the price of eggs has tripled is because of this avian flu. In a commercial environment, in a farm, if one chicken is found with this avian flu, they have to wipe out the whole, if there's 100,000 chickens, all of them have to be slaughtered. And again, it's just a question and education, for you to educate me. In a private home, is there potential for this avian flu? And if there is, what is the potential danger or exposure to someone you might have graciously given eggs to, or how does that affect public health if something like that were to get exposed on a private chicken coop, we'll call it. And just again, it's a question you don't have to answer now. It's just a question that someone might have. Again, you know what? In this economy, if someone could save a few pennies by having their own eggs in their backyard, and people are on board, and at a public hearing, people feel it's a good thing to have, and you tell me that Niskayuna and Guilderland already have positive legislation for this, well, we also as a board have reference now. But just look into that avian flu and Does anybody know about avian
I mean,
flu?
it's mostly transmitted by migratory birds, which are wild birds anyhow. They found chickens to get them from other birds flying around in and out of the state. So usually it's a problem with the wild birds coming in with the domesticated ones. But as the eggs go, you know, there's a membrane coating the eggs. If you don't wash them, you don't have to refrigerate them or anything. So you're not really worried about anything penetrating the actual shell or the membrane of the egg.
Clearly, you've done your homework very well.
Yeah. That's my son. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I guess to say to that, you know, you take a risk anytime you have anybody over at your house. They can fall down your stairs. They can get salmonella from the meat. You know, we just bought peanut butter and there was a recall on that. So I think that if, you know,
It's just
the
unpleasant.
chance of having 6 hens in your backyard that you care for as your own, you know, pets, getting the flu when they're cooped up at night, which is part of the regulations that, you know, Rotterdam or Niskayuna and Gilman have, the chance of them getting that type of disease or any disease and passing it on to an egg and then passing it on to a human being is probably, I don't know, far-fetched, we'll say. So I that might answer your question somewhat.
Yeah, no. I see you got a lot of detail here, like, my next question is answered here, is, you know, what would the maximum number in your opinion be, and it says 6 here, so that's reasonable.
So, thank you.
Thank
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing from you.
Good job.
Brenda?
I will not yell. Brenda Terosian, 1033 6th Street. I was here the last board meeting, and I will try to be as calm and not yell. I have a petition. This is about Rotterdam planning on moving this and the other place to Viaport. I walked the streets for a month, and I will continue to walk the streets. I did part of High Bridge, most of Carmen, some of Colebrook. People are not aware of what I know came from the other administration. You guys are in charge now. When I talk to the people, they have no idea what you guys want to do. I read the article from the Gazette of November of last year, at November 21. And the reason given at that time for that $1 million deposit to go on there was retrofitting and upgrading the space, improving court functions and safety of police department and the justice department. Okay, it's going to cost $8, and I also have the contract, which I didn't get a chance to go through all of it. According to the article, it says it would cost approximately $1 million to fix this place and update the roof, another $600,000. You have construction companies here in Rotterdam that money, and that money's supposed to be for infrastructure, so I'm just trying to figure out. I was here at the last meeting, and you guys all complained that our pipes are busting. That is why you had to, not you, the other administration, but you guys are in charge. That is why our water bill went up. Mine went double. Yes, I'm in District 5. I am talking about other people that went from 75 to 600 to 1,000 because our pipes are breaking. So you need to fix the pipes, but you would rather move this place and the police station to Viaport. And the other thing was, when you guys go there, people will see people walking into the town hall, and then businesses will start wanting to do businesses there. I spoke to parents in my walks. And maybe when you guys start running for re-election or election, maybe you need to start knocking on doors and talking to people. I got major educated, and I'm not done, because I will do this again and again. They're saying they will not bring their children to Viaport if you're going to put the police station with more, holding cells. They won't bring their kids here. Rotterdam, how can I say it without? We are a government agency. We are not in business to bail out Viaport. We are not in that business. I've been here 37 years, and Rotterdam was a nice place to live. So do me a favor. Get all those signs off those streets, because this is not a nice place to live. People are leaving. I still haven't come up with $157 for the water bill. Yes, I'm in District 5, so if I can't come up with it, how in conscience can you guys think a senior citizen can come up with $600 to $1,000? And then you're going to use an infrastructure bill, money that came for infrastructure, move to Viaport, which is falling apart, which is literally falling apart. There's no businesses there. You want us to be okay with that? I can't. The people, and I will keep petitioning. I will be out there. I'm doing this on my own. I'm walking on my own. I'm learning from, I have a couple of people who say, Rotterdam's going to do what Rotterdam wants to do, so why bother? That's why people don't come to town meetings. Because what we say does not matter. I'm hearing that every time I've gone out and done a petition, and gone out and talked to people. And you guys want to move over there. I know I'm almost over, and I can't talk out from here because I already got reprimanded for that. But I will. I am passionate about this. And the other thing, two more things, I'm sorry. There's an individual, a young lady on my street who I petitioned. She got her water bill, and it wasn't $157. And she's a young person, a young homeowner. Her bill is $175. Somebody needs to look into that. I will give you the person's name. And the other thing is, for the last 2 months, in my neighborhood and in around other parts of Colebrook, there's an agency called, there's a group called Premier Infrastructure and Energy Utility Contractors. They're coming around on the properties, and I told them they're not coming on mine. And they're marking the streets. And they are telling me that, and I've gone and talked to them, and they're saying it's for training purposes. Well, you know what? I'm not comfortable with what's going on in Rotterdam. I'm not comfortable with the possibilities of you guys wanting to attempt to do sewers and attempting the water meters. And one more thing, anytime you're going to do something like this, it should be voted on by the residents, not by you guys. You work for us, it's not the other way around. I appreciate the time.
Linda Lear.
Be nice. Was that okay? Was I yelling? I got reprimanded by the police officer.
Speaking to the mic, Linda, not me, Mike.
Hello, my name is Linda Laird Fisher. I have a few issues to discuss with you. One thing is about this water bill. That's ridiculous, $157. And then on top of it, this really burns my ass. You're selling water to Gilderland.
Scotia too.
There's no reason why you should sell it to Gilderland. You want the money. And then you raise up all our water bills, and you take the money. Where's everything going? Where's the $157 that I paid for a water, and then on top of it, a sewer? I don't have sewers, but I had to pay for it. That's stupid and ridiculous. I am a disabled woman, I'm retired, and I'm sticking up for myself and for other people who won't stick up for themselves or can't stick up for themselves. I think it's about time you guys stop increasing everything. Where are you going? Where's the money going? In your pocket? Is that where it's going? Because there sure ain't, and nothing's been done around Argo and Roberta, Colebrook. I mean, the roads are terrible. I mean, all I do is patch them up. And that's stupid to patch them up because they just, every year they have to be patched up. That's stupid. Why don't you just do the roads over again? And then you won't have to patch them up every year. I mean, you guys aren't even using your head. I mean, I'm no abstractor or anything like that, but I'm not stupid. And sometimes I think you people are stupid. You're ignorant, you don't listen to people like myself.
That's my wife for you.
I've been wanting to come to speak my piece for quite a long now. And now I have spoken some of my mind. But I'm tired of you people taxing us people and we don't get anything in return. And it's about time this has to stop. You're increasing everything. You want to move to this place. You don't even know what you're doing. This place is fine. Just have the community work on the projects instead of these other people that you have. I mean, one, you'd be helping out employment in Rotterdam. Two, you'd be saving yourself money.
Thank you.
Linda, can I address, there's a lot of, there's been a lot of confusion about the bills that everybody got for water and sewer in June. And what I want to communicate to you is that you're in Colebrook, so you're not connected to any sewer, so you didn't pay any sewer charge.
Yeah, but I got a bill that says water and sewer.
And that's been, you're not the only person that's been confused by that, because the heading, now the June bill includes the full amount that we pay for our water service, as opposed to years past, it was only $75, but we paid the other portion in our January property taxes. So a change was made in December of last year.
Yeah, but us knowing about it. We didn't know anything about it.
Correct.
I didn't.
So
Don't you think you're supposed to be representing us? You should notify us of any changes that you people make that's gonna end up by costing us more money. What do you think we are? A bank? I mean, your salaries aren't that great, but they're not that bad either. But, come on. People who can't afford it, can't afford it.
It's been a difficult thing to communicate to people. We've been talking about it at town board meetings. We have it posted at RotterdamNY.org. We took an ad out in the Gazette. We had a PR firm for a time that tried to help us get the word out to people, but it's been confused around talks of water meters and
That's stupid to have a water
yeah,
meter.
we're not pursuing water meters. We haven't spent $1 on water meters, but you know, everybody's taxes did go up this year in 2020.
They're going up every year.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Come on, let's be honest. Every year. I mean, I remember back in the 70s how it was with Constantino as a supervisor. I know he got himself into some trouble. But he was never, ever like this. Seems that you guys are out for all the money that you can get, no matter how you get it.
I would like to direct you to the website, RotterdamNY.org, for news and alerts, and also you'll see in the you'll see.
I don't have a computer.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I could perhaps show you the Water District 5 budget, and you'll see where the revenue from Gilderland is applied, breaks down that everybody.
Well, wait, you didn't even ask us if you could sell our water to Gilderland
In Scotia,
or in Scotia.
both of them.
You never told us, never informed us of this. I mean, who do you think you are? I mean, you got a position? You just don't care.
Ma'am, the supervisor and the board have heard your comments and they appreciate them.
Yeah.
The next person needs to come up and move it along. Thanks.
Thank you.
I
Mike
just want to
Fisher?
say one thing, I know I'm not supposed to do this.
What?
Water meters are not off the table.
Mike,
Sorry.
Mike Fisher?
Hi, Mike.
Very good job.
My name is Michael Emery Fisher. I heard from my wife. As the woman spoke over here about chickens moving 3 miles away out of Rotterdam into another district, so be it. Somebody will buy that house. You know, it's like almost like a drug dealer. Well, if you don't buy it, somebody will. Keep the money coming in. I don't foresee, the money is not being spent wisely. I'm addressing this to as far as moving this area and that over there to Viaport. Let me see, when did I get arrested, Linda? They had no problem processing me there and bringing me to the sheriff's department. Sure, it costs gas. Well, isn't it cheaper than moving all this crap and spending all this thousands and $100,000s of dollars to relocate these 2 buildings? What's that gonna do? I know it stinks to, like, you know, sometimes people are, you know, dead end job, you know, I'm here, you know, I'm sick of walking into this place here, you know, renovate the place. Just renovate it. It's a whole lot cheaper. And like Deborah said,
Brenda.
I had to say Deborah. Brenda said that, you know, you had local contractors. They come in here and renovate this place. You know, I don't know if these are strictly holding up the roof or all whatever else have you, but sure, it looks, I guess after all these years of working here, it's depressing. Life is depressing. You know, make a change in it instead of spending all these, and where's the money coming from? Who's gonna be paying for it?
Us.
You know, it's just ridiculous. I mean, when I first got arrested in Rotterdam, they had a holding cell down in the basement. Right? Like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hold 2 or 3 criminal or people there. Or do what they did to me, bring them down to the sheriff's department. They got a lot of holding cells there. It's a whole lot cheaper than moving these buildings down to be a port. That's so ridiculous. It's like, where's this money coming from? Oh, because the highway department got a new garage approved? Is that where it started? The highway department? Now let's do the town hall, let's do the police department. It's just so ridiculous, that's all. It's just so ridiculous. You guys don't think out, you're not planning things out correctly. It's just like money out the window, yeah, you know what? Boy, you guys got a money tree in your backyard?
No, we are taxpayers.
Money trees,
That's us.
that's it. But there's no call, there's no need to relive. So what are you gonna do with, do you have, is this building already sold to somebody else? Do you have money from this building before you buy another area, before this one is sold? Or is this one gonna stay vacant and on the market for how many years? That's all. So dumb.
Thank you.
Supervisor.
Thank you for your time.
That's it.
Chuck, is there anybody that wants to speak from Zoom?
Nobody's saying there is.
I just have a question.
Do you want to talk?
Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Khaled. I live on Paul Avenue. I just have a question. Where can I find the documentation that justifies this idea of moving to Viaport, and why is this structure no longer serving the needs of Rotterdam? Where can I find that information?
Okay.
During the meeting.
Yeah.
We'll give you that answer coming up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, what was your last name?
Khaled.
Thank you so much.
Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak for privilege of the floor but didn't sign up?
Hello, thank you for your time. My name is Donna Royer. I'm a resident of 1401 Fern Avenue. Been a resident of Rotterdam for 23 years. I have 2 questions, 2 concerns. Number 1, on behalf of my friends, the Legacies, the first probably 2-3 times I was over there, I had no idea they even had chickens. That's how clean, quiet they kept the place. Before somebody comes to their residence without giving any kind of reason as to why they're there to take their chickens, I think people better start looking at puppy mills who produce parvovirus. And do they need permits? I don't know, but in the town of Rotterdam, you look on Facebook, every day there's got to be 3, 4, 5 animals, stray animals, running around, some coming from puppy mills. And like I said, I'm a registered nurse myself. I know all about all kinds of bacterial infections that can come from animals. Let's start taking care of these puppy mills in Rotterdam before we start taking care of and being concerned about a residence with 6 chickens that they want to take. That's not going to make any kind of difference at all, other than disrupt a family who considers their chickens their pets. That's number 1. Number 2, again, like I say, I've been a resident of Fern Ave for 23 years. So I have 2 grown children who went through Pop Warner. We were Pop Warner parents since my kids were 4 and 5, and they're 20, 26, something like that. I don't know, 24, 26. I know it's been a huge topic, these signs. I live on Fern Ave. It is absolutely disgusting to see these signs that went up on our street. 80% of my block, where I reside, is elderly folks. Everyone keeps their lawn meticulous over there, with the exception of a vacant house that a bank comes over and they take care of the lawn. My concern is it has totally disrupted the block of Fern Avenue. Number 1, we have people parking within driveways across the street from me. I have 5 vehicles in my family. I don't have the choice to park in front of my own house where I pay taxes, which I think really sucks. People are parking on our residents across the street, their lawns. Like I said, these people are elderly. You got people come out of their cars, and please understand, I am all for Pop Warner. I think it sucks that they lost their parking area, and now my beautiful view of my sunsets consists of a Family Dollar truck that's sitting in that lot over there, which is horrible. Just lost my train of thought because there's something else I wanted to attach to that. I'm sorry, give me a moment. Yeah, the parking, like I said, there's a majority of elderly folks that are parking over there, and I can only imagine what's gonna happen this year for the town of Rotterdam, who does an amazing job with snow plowing. All these damn signs. These cars are now parking in the Rotterdam Pop Warner parking lot. I see it every day. There's tracks over there, vehicles are going inside the lot. There's no cars on the road, but now we all have these signs. We have no sidewalks over there. It's, considered an area where the signs that are up are serving absolutely no purpose other than nicking it when we're trying to mow our lawn. So those are the two things I just wanted to bring up, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
For your input.
Is there anyone else before we close privilege of the floor that wants to say anything that might not have signed up? No? There was a letter submitted by a resident, and it will be included in the minutes. She didn't want it read. She didn't want to read it herself, but it will be included in the minutes if anyone cares to read it. Okay.
May I speak again?
Usually it's just once. Okay. Usually it's just once.
I've been
everybody
sitting
gets
in
to
my
speak.
seat and say,
Okay.
with all the water towers and all the
I-
cellular things going up, you
I'm
guys
sorry.
get red, where's all that money going to?
I don't mean to be rude, and some of your questions will be answered at the end when it's under miscellaneous and committee liaison reports. But right now, it's just one person. You get to speak for 4 minutes. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but those are the rules, okay? All right, so if there's no one else that wishes to speak under privilege of the floor, privilege of the floor is closed, and we'll go into resolution. First resolution is resolution 203 of the year 2022. The clerk will read.
To appoint a clerk in the town clerk's office.
I'll move.
First, any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Evan made a motion.
Motion by Mr. Christo.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson on the question. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 204 of the year 2022. The clerk will read.
To appoint a senior Department of Public Works specialist.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani on the question. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 205 of the year 2022. The clerk will read.
To appoint a senior account specialist.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani on the question. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Next resolution is resolution number 206 of the year 2022. The clerk will read.
To amend Resolution 180.22 of the year 2022.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson on the question. Clerk will read the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 207 of the year 2022. The clerk will read.
To approve budget transfers to the 2022 budget.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second? I'll second. On the question, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 28 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To supersede Resolution 36.22 to recognize and adopt IRS increase in reimbursement rate for mileage.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson, seconded by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 2209 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To accept and award bid contract for grinding and removal of brush, yard waste, and wood.
Okay.
Madam Supervisor and the board, in my firm, I do represent the potential awardee of this contract, Troy Sand and Gravel, so I'm going to recuse. I haven't provided any counsel on this resolution. I'll leave the room. I'll come back with the next item brought up.
Is there any discussion?
Discussion on this is that we would forward this resolution to council that we have on staff to review the resolution prior to the final signatures.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Want to get Mr. Tingle? Resolution 210 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To authorize purchase of sodium hexametaphosphate.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 211 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To authorize the supervisor to execute a third amendment to an engineering consultant agreement with Renman Patterson Incorporated, GPI.
Any discussion?
Discussion on this is an amendment for, I believe, $880. Let me just make sure I'm correct.
Yes.
Yes. And it's to allow the consultant to prepare a meets and bounds description so we can convey an easement with the city of Schenectady for our project on Sartoli Avenue drainage.
Any other discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 212 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To authorize an agreement with Colliers Engineering.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 213 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To authorize change order number 1 on the C contract and the E contract for Sewer District 7 Extension 2.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 214 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To establish a 2022 operating budget for Special Drainage District Number 1.
Any discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson. On the question, Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 215 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To accept revenue for the town clerk's office for June of 2022.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion made by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second? I'll second the motion. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 216 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To accept town board meeting minutes from the June 8th, 2022 meeting.
Any discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 217 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To authorize the supervisor to execute all documents regarding the termination of agreement with the DEC regarding the property at 1220 Main Street, Rotterdam Junction.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second? I'll second it. On the question, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
I'm going to explain my vote. I'm going to vote no because I think this is likely leaving money on the table, although in my discussions with folks here at the town about the reasoning for this, I wasn't necessarily able to ascertain enough information to know how much or if that is the case, so I'm going to vote no at this point.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 218 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To authorize the supervisor to sign a letter to NYS Environmental Facilities Corporation 4th Street Pump Station.
Any discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 219 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To amend Resolution 174.22 regarding purchase of chlorine gas.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 220 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To authorize a settlement of litigation in Petorti versus Town of Rotterdam.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Do I have a second? I'll second it. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 221 of the year 2022, the clerk will read.
To recognize the introduction of introductory local law number 6 of 2022 to amend chapter 188 of the town code relating to noise and scheduling a public hearing thereon.
Any discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 222 of the year 2022, clerk will read.
To authorize execution of releases of claims to fee ownership and the acceptance of permanent easements along 2 areas of certain real property adjacent to a portion of Park Lawn Avenue.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Christou. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 223 of the year 2022. The clerk will read.
To schedule a special meeting of the town board on July 20th, 2022.
Okay. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 224 of the year 2022. The clerk will read.
To schedule a special meeting of the town board on July 27th, 2022.
Any discussion? I have, it's an answer to the gentleman in the audience. This meeting is primarily going to be for the discussion of the lease agreement and the Viaport. There'll be, Barton and LaJudas did a cost analysis. They also did renderings of what it might look like, and that will all be presented on the 27th. So for anybody who had questions about the move to the Viaport, please make sure that you're here on the 27th at 7 o'clock, and that will be presented.
Okay, so the documentation is going to be presented on the 27th. Is that documentation available now someplace?
I'm assuming you can
Just
foil,
in draft.
well, yeah, right now, right.
Okay, and then follow up, on the 27th thereafter, is that going to move forward, or is there a time for us to assess that documentation?
There'll be time for you to assess that documentation. It is an information meeting, and out of that, you will get information that will allow you to determine what the path is forward for you.
Thank
For you.
you.
So, I'm sorry.
I know, but
We
this-
will have-
for me, this is important. How is the people of the town of Rotterdam gonna know about the special meeting that has to do with the Viaport?
It will be on the website and
Well, not everyone has a computer.
And we, you know, unfortunately too, it counts on word of mouth. I mean, everybody's
Okay.
just going to have to know.
So it does get published in the paper.
Yep.
That's
Yes.
on here, be transmitted to the news media,
Correct.
and of course, it'll be on our website.
Right.
So,
All right. Any further discussion on this? All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. All right. That concludes our resolutions for tonight. We'll now move on to liaison reports. Do any of the board members have anything under their liaison committee? No? I'm going to do it in the miscellaneous. Do any board members have anything they wish to speak about under miscellaneous? Okay. I have one thing. It was said earlier tonight that we're selling water to Scotia. As far as I know, we are not selling water to Scotia. The only contract that I've seen that the town of Rotterdam is engaged in is that they sell water to Gilderland. I've never seen any contract whatsoever to Scotia, and I'm pretty sure that Scotia has their own wells, and I always thought they were on part of the aquifer too. So I don't think they would have a need to buy water from us. And then again, just again, that we're having the informational meeting on July 27th at 7 o'clock here. And a couple other things. We have talked to many of the residents on Fern Avenue about the signs. We're trying to address that. One of the residents said even if, this particular resident's problem was, when my family comes to visit me, they're petrified to park on the road because they're afraid they're either gonna get a ticket or towed. So, you know how there's a lot of traffic signs that say, you know, no parking between this hour and that hour. Maybe we can add something to the signs too, until we find a more permanent resolution that it says, you know, from September through November, or whatever the football season is. Or at certain hours, if we know that their games are only played on certain hours or days. But trying to make it easier for the residents until we come up with a permanent solution. And the last thing is, we're not getting a new highway department, at least not at this stage. We're only getting a new salt shed building. And it's not actually a new one. We never had a salt shed, so it used to have to be covered with tarps. And the neighbors around there, I think, have been very patient with us. because when the wind would blow, no matter how hard we tried to tarp it, a lot of the sand and salt would blow into their yards. So there will be hopefully a salt storage building being built. Okay? Does anybody else have anything else on miscellaneous?
Yeah, if I could address a couple things, I would just like to reemphasize that we do have water conservation hours in the summertime that are automatic sprinklers between 1 and 3 in the morning, if you could set it at that hours. And for people with automatic sprinklers, between 6:30 a.m. to 8 o'clock a.m. and 6:30 p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. If you could do it in conjunction with the number of your household, if it's an odd number, do it on odd days, even number, do it on even days. And I want the public to know that we have water conservation issues because we have an infrastructure that limits how much water we could pump to our water towers. It's not because we don't have access to water. We have abundant access to water. The reason is because we don't have pipes big enough to pump the water throughout the busiest time of the year, which is the summer. A couple things also too, we are scheduling a special meeting 2 weeks from today on the 27th, and it is something that we're working through and learning about. How do we communicate to the public these critical pieces of information? The website rotterdamny.org is a safe place to go to. We use Facebook as well, but we're open to suggestions.
Send out a notice. You send out a notice.
$10,000.
You send out a notice to the water bill.
$10,000.
Send out a notice to every single resident as to what these special meetings are about. I don't get a newspaper. I'm not spending $34 a month for newspaper. I don't have a computer. I don't have a website.
There
A
are
lot of
plenty
the
of people that
elderly
would like.
do not have that. Please send a notice. That's all you have to do.
I understand that. We can't send a notice for every
For the special meeting.
issue.
For this special
So,
meeting, for this special meeting, that's gonna affect every person in Rotterdam. If you guys plan to do this, move. I will move. I cannot live here. Rotterdam is not Gilderland. Rotterdam is not Niskayuna. We're a working class community. And you're gonna ask us to spend, and this was your amount last June, $33,000 a month for 10 years, a lease, with the option to buy. Where's the money? You still haven't answered. Where is that money coming from? You still haven't answered. Who's paying that?
Okay.
We're
I
gonna get to that in 2 weeks.
I can't pay the 157 water bill. I don't have it.
I
So where's it coming from?
I understand.
I'm sorry,
your
and I'm
judgment.
sorry, Mr. Collins.
Okay, I'd like to address one other thing as well. We're having a summer concert series at the Senior Center on Tuesday nights. The Schenectady Amsterdam Musical Union is bringing some great bands. So 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, come to the Senior Center.
When's that start, Joe?
It's already started, it's
Yep.
already
When's it
in
end?
process.
So it'll be
August 16th will be the last day, so.
Every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday at 7, different band. Our own concert band and jazz band will be on August 2nd, but we have the Keith Prey Quartet coming up on the 17th, which is next Tuesday. And we'll have the link up on rotterdamny.org for everybody that's able to access that.
Anything else from any of the other board members?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Johnson. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Costello. All in favor?
Aye.
Done.